Lakota people believe in. Uh, Unicorns and rainbows and hey, and 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 leprechauns. No, I'm just kidding. Unicorn. Oh gosh. Remember that, for those of you who are old enough, do you remember back in the 1970s, maybe even before that? These guys are older than me. Allegedly, there was a picture taken in somebody's garden in England, and it allegedly shows a fairy. It's about, maybe 10 inches high, which would be about, what, 22, 25 centimeters, for those of you who are metric. And it's black and white, uh, and it's people had a hell of a time trying to disprove that video. I mean, picture. It was a picture of a fairy, yeah? And people, so-called experts, were having a hard time trying to disprove the photo. And I think back then, there probably were not too many experts in these kind of things. And there were probably, your common, photographer, people who were really expert in these kind of things that could really manipulate photos that most experts probably couldn't figure out. You know what I mean? And so for the longest time, and I've seen a lot of TV shows, the paranormal shows, these documentaries there, where they really make it look like it's, this is a scientific thing, and doctor, so and so, he says that, and according to this is Native American Indians are really aliens, and things like that. And they use these things called, what are they called? Fallacies. Fallacy is like, let me give you an example. Appeal to authority. This is these are tactics that lawyers use. Appeal to authority is where you try to build yourself or someone up into an authority on something, by saying all kinds of things that normally, should not make any difference whatsoever. But because there's a lot of people in this world that they succumb to this, they fall for it. Yeah. So, like, for example, you can have an Indian guy who will get up and he will say, I am descended from Chief Three Toes, and I come from a long line of medicine men, and I have two Indian names, and I've done this Wachinko ceremony for 28 years now, and I have two pipes, and I do the what do you call it? What's that one ceremony? The Napinkpa ceremony every morning, and when I go to sleep, I get up in the morning to greet the sun, and I go to sleep when I say good night to the sun, and therefore, see, what he's really doing is he's trying to make you think he's an expert by saying he does all these things. And that is not humble whatsoever. In Lakota, we have a virtue called wahwala. You can call this a natural law. Because when you live in the way that I explained at the beginning of the show, and you live a healthy life, and you are doing your best, part of this process includes being humble. So you don't cause a scene. Yeah, you don't get up and try to humiliate somebody in public, and then you say to the people, "I'm just trying to show you the truth." You know, the way when somebody does things like that, that is humiliation, and this is not truth-seeking whatsoever. Not even. Because in most native traditions, there's a protocol to follow. When you are having difficulty with somebody, you meet with that person in private, and you don't get into a shouting match. You shake hands. You give each other tobacco or something, and then you sit down. You're showing that you're willing to discuss this openly. Yeah. And then if that doesn't settle the matter, then you go before a council of wise people. And not all, I don't want to say elder because not all elders are wise. Just go to any bingo hall on any reservation and you'll see what I mean. Yeah, they get if you're sitting in their chair, they're going to get mad at you and really, just belittle you in front of everybody, and that's not humble, and that's not respect either. Yeah. And so I say in front of a council of wise people. Yeah, wisdom does not come with age. Yeah, it does not. You go to any playground and watch little kids play. They don't know racism because they're communicating from their sacred centers. Yeah, so you see Indian kids and Hasapa kids, the black kids and white kids and all kinds of kids. They're all playing together. They don't see skin color or religion because they're still communicating from their sacred centers. That is wisdom. And as they get older, they learn from their environment. So if their parents are racist or, separatist or whatever, that's what they're going to become too. That's learned behavior. So that means as we grow up, we move away from our sacred center if our parenting is either non-existent or unhealthy. Yeah, because sometimes we can be in a home where we're fed and loved and everything, but there's no parenting. To love your child is not enough. You have to do parenting, teaching it skills, life skills, social skills, how to learn when something rugged happens, that it's not the end of the world. See what I mean? And so part of this process, it means you become humble. Yeah? Part of the process of establishing peace in your life is becoming humble. And when you become humble, you don't get up and brag about yourself. You don't brag about, oh, I'm descended from Chief so-and-so, and I have his Indian name, and you don't go down the line like that. When people do that, those are not traditional people, even if they speak their language. Yeah, because just because you speak your own language, if you're native, that doesn't mean you're good. It doesn't mean you're wise. I know lots of people whose first language is Lakota, and they're assholes. Yeah, they get drunk. They don't take care of their children. They beat each other up over pennies. Yeah, so how you are raised is really important. And if you don't get that when you're growing up, don't worry. It's not a hopeless situation. You can still learn. It's never too late to learn in life. Yeah, never. It's never too late to learn. It's never too late to change your life for the healthier. And part of that process includes humility, becoming humble. Yeah. So when people get up and say they're descendants of so and so, they come from a long line of whatever, and they do the Wachinko ceremony and the Napinkpa ceremony or whatever ceremony. This is bragging. This is not humility. Yeah, this is in line with vanity. This is not humility. When you hear people talk like that, this is not a person of peace. Yeah, this is totally violates natural law, And that includes old people. If old people talk like this, they're not being humble either. I guarantee you, 100%, during Sitting Bull's time, when he made a speech, he never said these things. Because people knew who he was because of how he lived his life. Yeah, he didn't say this was his Indian name and he did this ceremony and he comes from a long line of whatever and he's descended from whoever. He never said these things. People knew him because of how he lived his life. Yeah? So that's what we should be like. Yeah? It all depends on how you live your life. So this is a fallacy when people get up and say, well, I'm descended from so-and-so, as if that was making you the same. It doesn't. Yeah? It doesn't. And that's like you resting upon the achievements of someone else. So you don't go out and do your own. You're lazy. Yeah? You're disrespecting your ancestor when you talk like that. Because they made their name. They made their reputation. And for you to rest upon their reputation is irresponsibility. And that shows you do not have peace in your life. And it shows you are an oppressor and or a victim. And this is not healthy. Yeah, that is one kind of a fallacy. Another one is when they call appeal to the emotion. This is where people say things to you to get you all emotional so that you lose yourself in the emotion and then you do what they ask you to do. For example, Christians use this a lot. They'll say to they'll get to know you to find out who's dead in your family. And then they're going to say that those people are in heaven and they're waiting for you and they want you to join this church because they've already joined. They've heard the word of God on the other side and then wouldn't you want to be with them for eternity? They use this kind of tactic. And then if you refuse, then they'll say, we respect your choice. We'll pray for you, but just be aware that the Bible says that those who do not accept his word or reject it shall burn in hell and fire and tribulation for all eternity. Now they use the scare tactic. That is not love. You see, these are all fallacies. These are what lawyers use in court. It's really an unhealthy way to get something done. It's oppressing others. Yeah? That's what it's doing. So, these kind of things, when you hear Indians talk, listen for these kind of things. And you can tell if the person is healthy or not. But if you're unhealthy, you're going to fall for it. Yeah, you will be fooled. You will be tricked. Yeah, you will be, and even when that person shows that he's an asshole, you're going to make an excuse for it. I knew a girl one time from New York City, and she was really talking about this fake medicine man by the name of David Swallow. I'm going to say that name one more time. David Swallow. This is a fake medicine man. He's not real. Yeah, he is a fake medicine man. Now this guy does ceremonies on the East Coast, the West Coast, Colorado, wherever there's New Agers. He goes there and you have to pay a lot of money to participate in his ceremonies. Sometimes he'll come to Pine Ridge. He has a relative there who has land, and they do the Sundance there every year. But if you go there, you have to pay. And you should never pay for ceremonies. If you're an outsider and you want to witness a ceremony and somebody asks you to pay for it, go someplace else, because what you're going to see is not real. A real ceremony has no price. Yeah? You should never have to pay for a ceremony. Never. Yeah? So, I knew about this guy. He's always been this way. Yeah? For over almost 20, maybe even over 20 years he's been this way. He's only getting worse. And this lady from New York City, she heard him speak at a museum in New York City. And he singled her out. See, that's what they do. They scan the audience looking for white women to, for one thing, to snag, to get sex from by really impressing them and then getting them to give them money. So they all do this. They scan the audience and they really try to be impressive. And he got her. Yeah, he I don't know if he snagged her, but he got her attention. And this is what they do. They invite you to a Sundance. This is not the way you invite somebody to a Sundance. There's a protocol. If you go to a certain Sundance and you want to invite somebody, you have to do a certain thing involving cherry tree sticks and a certain paint color, yeah, and a certain color of cloth that you have to tie to the stick. I'm not telling you where on the stick to tie it, but there's a certain location you're supposed to tie it. Then you go to that person and you hand them that stick and say there's a Sundance happening at such and such, and where and stuff like that. And then you turn around and go. The stick is the invitation. Yeah? And he didn't do that. He saw a pretty white woman to get sex and money from. That's what he saw. So she didn't know this. And this is before she knew me, okay? So she was on her way to Pine Ridge, and her car broke down before she even got on the reservation. She felt really bad that she was going to miss that Sundance. And evidently, before the one in Pine Ridge, he did a Sundance in Colorado, somewhere in the mountains. And a friend of hers was at the Colorado one. And this evidently he has an RV that has air conditioning. So in between Sundance sessions, he goes into his air-conditioned RV and watches satellite TV while the dancers are suffering, basically. And she thought that was funny, that yeah, he just he does this, something like that. And for those of you who are traditional Lakota people, you know that what I just said, that is blatant violation of the Sundance ceremony itself. Yeah, but see, she didn't know this. She thought this is just how things are. And so she called me up, said that her car broke down, and see, she was gonna come visit me after that Sundance. And she asked if it was okay if she came a few days earlier and she could spend longer time with me. So I said, yeah, that's fine, no problem. So she told me, when she came to me, she told me everything. Then I told her what I just told you. I told you about appeal to authority fallacy. I told you about, how this violates the Sundance, that you should never pay. I told her the proper way to invite somebody to a Sundance. I told her some other. See, this David Swallow made the news about 2 years before this incident, in which he borrowed $50,000 from a millionaire lady in California. He told her he needed that money to rent a semi-truck, that he had a semi-truck load of clothes and stuff that people donated to the people of Pine Ridge, and he was going to drive it back to Pine Ridge. Yeah, so this lady gave him $25,000, and then he said he needed another $25,000 for some kind of paperwork or whatever. And so she gave him another $25,000. About a month went by. She never heard from this guy. So she wrote a letter to a newspaper at that time. It was called the Lakota Times. That was on Pine Ridge, and it served all Lakota reservations. So she wrote a letter to the editor saying what happened. This guy he said his name is David Swallow, and she told him everything, what I just said here. And she said, can anybody tell me, where that truck ended up at? Can anybody tell me, I just want to know where it ended up, she said. I want to know if those clothes made it out there, because she said, I don't know if he ever made it. She thought maybe something happened to him. So the Lakota Times started asking around. Nobody ever heard of any truck coming in. And then this lady got a credit card bill, and it was exorbitantly high, and she didn't realize he had her credit card. Or maybe she just doesn't want to admit that she let him use it. Yeah? And so she tracked down, where these purchases were being made. And she was able to contact these locations, and turned out the guy was living high on the hog, as they say. He never rented a truck. There were no donations. Yeah? And when he realized she was searching for him, he went to her, confronted her, and he actually had the nerve to get after her. He actually had the nerve to get mad at her for not trusting him. So she said, give me the receipt to the trucking company. She said, I need that for my taxes, she said. Because these are donations. She's donating. And she needs to prove that this is a donation. He said he threw it away. She said, what's the name of the truck company? And he started to get fidgety. He made up some name. She traced it, and it doesn't even exist. So she realized she lost $50,000 plus, I think, another $10,000 off of her credit card. She lost all of that. So she wrote an article in the paper, this Lakota Times, saying, that Lakota Times should be publishing names of people like this and putting that out to the public so other rich people will not be getting fooled by con men like David Swallow. Yeah? And see, at that time, I was a library director, and I kept like an archive at the Cheyenne River Community College Library. So I had all these articles. So I took this lady from New York City that came to visit me. I took her over there, and I showed her the articles, and she read it, and she was like, oh, my goodness, she said. Yeah? And I said, you have to take time to check things out. If you just believe everything that somebody says, that says something about you, that says that you don't know yourself, that says you don't have peace in yourself, even if you think you're a good person, the fact that you believe everybody, when they talk to you without even knowing who they are, and you put your 100% trust in that person just because they say they're a doctor or a lawyer or a medicine man or whatever, yeah, you have to take the time to check things out. Because if you believe everything, you're codependent, and this is unhealthy. And that means your relationships are going to be, where the man is going to rip you off every time. He's just going to use you for sex and money, which is what I'm pretty sure David Swallow wanted from this lady. So, that was a wake-up call for her. So she started to think that maybe that was somebody watching out for her, or something watching out for her, when before she even got to Pine Ridge Reservation, her car killed over. Yeah, and then we had a small discussion on the phone, and then she decided she wasn't going to go. She said the closer she got to Pine Ridge, the more uneasy she felt. And she actually was starting to feel nauseated. And so I said, well, it's up to you. I said, but you're totally welcome, to come up this way to Cheyenne River. And so, so we did, yeah. We met and had a good time. And I got to educate her. So during that process, I like to think that something was watching out for her so that she didn't become a victim of this fake medicine man. Because she was a really nice lady, and she did not deserve to be, well, nobody deserves to be tricked. But this guy recognizes those things. He can look at a person and tell if he can rip that person off or not. See, this is like attracts like. It's victims and oppressors attracting each other. That's a natural thing because they both have the same foundation: low self-esteem, low self-worth, emotional insecurity, inferiority complexes. They live in the emotion. They don't know themselves. Yeah? So if they live in the emotion, they cannot develop spiritually. So that's why I said that if you do believe everything, yeah, like if an Indian comes to you, let's say you live in London, England, and there's an Indian giving a talk at some museum, so you go over there, and then this Indian guy says, yeah, to do this ceremony, you have to pay $100 or £100, and see, Lakota people, we are warrior society, so that means we have to go to war. And so, just making shit up left and right. And if you believe that without question, that says a lot about you, that you don't even believe yourself, that you have a weak foundation, and that you will be fooled, you will be tricked, you will be taken advantage of, and your relationships are always going to be abusive until you come out of that. You come out of that by going within yourself, by taking time to know yourself. Yeah? Taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. These four parts are connected to each other. Where they connect is deep within you. This is your sacred center. This is like the center of a medicine wheel. And when you live this way, part of that process includes coming to peace with your past that bothered you, so that you remember more good things from the past that will be like medicine to help heal you. And all this is going to help you to stay in the present moment. So when difficulties come in the future, you'll be able to learn from them right away and make the best of it right away. And you'll receive blessings from it right away. Then you don't see it as a bad thing. Yeah? But this means you have learned to take the time to check it out. So when you meet somebody for the first time and you don't know anything about the information they're going to talk about, you will listen, but you'll take the time to check it out. Yeah? You will talk to other people who are in that field. You will become knowledgeable about it if it's something you really like. And then you will know if that person was telling you the truth or not. Because sometimes people don't tell the truth. They tell people what they want to hear. That's an enabler. That is a false prophet. That is a fake person. And these are the kind of people that use these fallacies. See how that all works? This is all unhealthy lifestyles. So, this is just how it is. Yeah, that's natural law. That's all coming from Lakota star knowledge concepts and principles.